Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's Socratic dialogue, which is going to be on the topic of operations. So, we're having the young Chief Operating Officer Socratic dialogue today. I would request both the teams to please start by introducing themselves.
Hi everyone, this is Aditya Srivastav. I work as a video editor in TT and today I am the coach for Team Igniters.
Hey everyone, my name is Susanna Dotto and I work for Coach Berry and today I am for Code Flow team.
Hi everyone, this is Disha. I'm an organizational development fellow at DT and today I'm a part of Team Igniters.
Hi everyone, I'm Yashoda and I'm the coach of Team Coach.
Hi everyone,
Hello,
I'm Afreen and I'm working as a data champion here at DT and I'm a team member of Team Igniters.
hello everyone. I'm Aman, and today I'll be presenting Team Course News.
Hi everyone, I'm Akshaya. I'm working at Coach Bairi. Now in the team of Team Igniters.
Hi everyone, my name is Arathnanda and today I'll be presenting on behalf of Team Flow.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paridhi, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. To begin with, which team would like to go first?
We would like to go first.
All right. Team Coreflow, could you just begin by giving us a short summary of your pitch and also telling us why you decided to name yourself Team Coreflow?
Sure. So core flow means strong core system that keep works flowing without friction. It ensures process stays smooth and focused. In this presentation, we will see how thinking in system, practicing with focus and learning from constant feedback can help to build smooth process and strong operation. Slide 1. So what you achieve depend upon the system behind your work. So skilled operators don't just jump in. They look at how task feedbacks and limits are connected. They don't just fix the problems. They fix the way the things flow underneath. So for example, in hospital, in ER, if you want to cutting the waiting time, you won't hire more nurses. You will improve how patients get sorted and how they get treated in a well manner. Next slide. In the high pressure situation, the one who adapts fastest wins, not the strongest person. Great operators don't just react, they notice and change quickly. Like cybersecurity. Teams don't just wait around, they track the threat in live and they immediately respond. So success comes from quick thinking and actions, not just perfect planning. Over to you, Aratinanda. Aman.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's
Over to you, Aman.
not just practice, it's perfect practice. So basically, we focus on deliberate practice, focused repetition with feedback to build precision and skill, and transforming mere experience into true expertise. So think of how a violinist master each and every single bar, changes like this. As Abraham Lincoln said, sharpen the axe first. This means strategic preparation, identifying the critical 20% effort for the 80% impact. So here the upfront time, clarifying goals always pays off. We can see Apple's product packaging as it shows how preparation drives powerful first impressions. Next slide. Productivity isn't just about goals, it's about our systems and our culture. We believe culture is our operating system, rewarding transparency, experimentation, and learning. So it's about creating systems and rituals that shape behavior, like Spotify's fail-friendly postmortems to truly foster productivity. Over to you, Alejandra.
So sometimes just doing the work is not enough. Real growth happens when we pause and reflect on whatever work we have done. Like, for example, Scrum teams that hold retrospectives every 2 weeks. Reflection helps us learn from what worked for us and what did not, so that we evolve faster and smarter. Moving forward. So basically, when productivity becomes a lifestyle, feedback is not just an occasional thing, it becomes a constant. Like Tesla's weekly updates driven by real world data, we stay aligned, we make better decisions, and we build systems that evolve with us. Because at this point, progress is no longer a goal, it becomes a habit for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Coldflow. Over to Team Igniters for questions.
I would like to ask a question. So in a work environment where the tasks are mostly repetitive, how would you uh, create operations which ensure growth of your organization?
Over to Team Coldflow for the answer. In organizations with repetitive tasks, how does the workflow ensure productive growth of the organization?
I'd like to take the question. So when the workflow, like when the tasks are repetitive, then first we ensure that we are gathering all the resources that is needed for before that task is to be executed. In that way, we can create a strategic flow. Like if the strategy is in clarity, then the execution part will be much easier.
Understood. So using strategy to streamline repetitive tasks. Any follow-up question, Aditya? Does that answer your question?
So I mean the tasks are already repetitive. So I was just trying to ask that how would you scale that thing instead of following the same process?
Okay, so
When you're
I think,
talking about, yeah, please go
yeah,
ahead,
carry on.
Sushant.
So as you are talking that we are doing something repetitive tasks, so we will need to see that what is very common in it, and we can use like API, what we are using currently right now. So something like that, which can like remove the workload of a repetitive task, but at the same time, it create the scale as the time will decrease using these things, right?
So if a task is repetitive, growth and scale can be achieved by automating it. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Does that answer your question, Aditya?
Yes.
Any follow-up questions?
No, I will say this.
Okay. Any other questions from Team Igniters?
Yeah, I wanted to ask that the presentation was saying that quick decisions is really important, right? I could see in the slide. And also, it was mentioned that reflection and feedback is important. So rather than making quick decisions and making wrong decisions and reflecting and improving, why not, you know, thinking slow but taking right decisions so that we reduce the mistakes which we make while taking the quick decisions?
I think slow decisions are required, but when you are working under pressure, that time you need to think first and execute it properly. And for that purpose only, we do this strategic workflow thing so that we can eventually think fast even under pressure.
So I'd like to add to that. It is about strategy and it is about fast thinking. So what we need is a perfect strategy which could be aligned accordingly. So that like if we are following the strategy, we are not following it blindly. We are following until it is helping with our productivity, it is increasing our productivity. And when we can see a lag over there, we are changing our strategy accordingly. Like just refining it a little so that it can enhance the productivity.
So Afreen's question was, where should we spend more time? Proactively creating that strategy in the first place, or, retrospectively reflecting after the strategy has been executed?
Or it's firstly coming like thinking about a particular strategy. It's not like making quick decisions or making 1 minute decisions. It's about taking a little time to reflect on what exactly the strategy which needs to be followed, coming up with a proper strategy which could be used to make the product like improve the productivity and the time as well, like the duration of the task as well, because at the end it is about like reducing the duration of the task only, no? So that we are able to do more things in lesser time. So firstly it is about like enhancing the strategies, working on a particular strategy, and then taking the decisions. So by quick decisions, it doesn't mean that you are taking decisions spontaneously. It is about thinking very clearly before taking any decisions and coming up with a strategy.
Yeah, so I feel that is more not like a quick decision, but rather a decision taken after a process of thinking. That's what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Afreen? Any follow-up questions? Any other questions from Team Igniters? No questions? All right.
There's
So,
a question.
yeah,
Right.
Disha, go on.
You guys mentioned to follow something called as deliberate practice. Could you elaborate what is deliberate practice?
I would like to answer this question. Basically, deliberate practice is about not the repetition and iterations. It is basically to find out the most critical things and work on them uh, with a laser focus, So it would be more efficient for us uh, in comparison of basic doing mindless repetitions of tasks and things.
So, practicing only what really matters, is that what you're saying? Deliberate practices,
And focused
the critical
environment as well.
parts. Got it. Does that answer your question, Disha? Any follow-up questions? All right. Any other questions from Team Igniters? No? All right. In that case, we'll start with the second round. Team Igniters, before you start with your pitch, can you please tell us why you named yourself Team Igniters and give us like a quick 10-second summarization of your pitch?
So we chose this name because we don't wait for momentum. We spark it. Like the fire framework we stand on. We light up focus, reflection, and growth wherever we work. So to summarize our pitch, our work is rooted in the FIRE, that is fire model. Focus, iterate, reflect, and eliminate. It's not about rushing, it's about designing daily habits that evolve how we think, work, and grow together. So we'll begin our pitch onto the first step. Yeah. So most people start with a 15 task list and finish none. So we say start with two that matter. Focus creates momentum. You can use tools like Notion or Google Calendar to protect that space. Productivity begins when we choose what not to do. Moving on over to Afri.
Yes, having said that, after that, we don't have to wait to get task to be perfect. We do review and improve. This mindset turns pressure into process, and a messy first draft beats a perfect plan that never ships. So productivity comes when we permit ourselves to iterate. Next, doing isn't just enough. Learning comes when we stop to reflect. That's how we sharpen. It's best to build rituals like journals, syncs, voice notes that help us learn faster and then we execute. Next, focus isn't a mindset, it's a boundary. Our devices pull us in 100 directions. The most productive teams protect their attention. Over to you, Akshay.
Yeah, choosing rhythm over the tool. Like the fire didn't feel like any other productivity hack or any fancy framework. It gave me a rhythm to focus, to reflect on, and to reset. It's how I started thinking better, not just working harder. Moving on, the real world usage. We haven't fully used it as a team yet, but I can already imagine the differences it's making, the less confusion, taking quicker yet smart decisions and learning as we build because we are always learning from what we do. Moving forward, the daily growth structure. Even just trying it helped me start my day with focus and end with clarity. Just steps, but the steps help me show up with intention and end each day feeling clear, not drained. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Igniters. Just for my clarity, your framework is focus, iterations, reflections. What does the last E stand for?
Eliminate.
Sorry?
Eliminate.
Eliminate. Got it. All right. Thank you. Over to Team Core Flow for their questions.
You gave the example of this fire framework. Can you give a real life application of it where it can be applied?
This can be actually applied to anyone who is working on project. It can be applied to anyone who is actually working here at DT or any organization. This process is not customized to any particular product which we are using, but it is actually framed to use in a day-to-day lifestyle. While we are creating the sprint plans or workflows, this can be followed.
Yashita, does that answer your question? Any follow-up questions?
Yes. No.
Okay. Any other questions from Team Core Flow?
Could you explain the term time blocking and how it works?
Answer that question. So we mentioned that use time blocking and not wish lists. So wish list is a thing where you choose a set of 15 tasks that you might not be able to do. So that is why we suggest to use time blocking. Time blocking is a concept that is opposite to this wish list. So you won't just list a number of tasks that you have to do, like for example, a 15 tasks, but you will actually block time slots on your day that will be assigned to those 2 or 3 tasks that are to be done. So let's say from 10 to 11:30, I'll write this content brief sort of stuff.
Does that answer your question, Latinanda? Any follow-ups?
Yes. So basically, what I understood is we're just like blocking our time to a particular task, right? In that particular time. So what about if we get some spontaneous tasks in between them? So do we have any space in there to audit that?
You would have like you that is what I said. You assign 2 or 3 most important tasks and assign them a particular time slot. So you would have a buffer in between the entire time list that you have created. So let's say something impromptu comes up and this task is more important to be delivered at the end of the day. You can do that task first and still use the remaining time to finish the task that you blocked that slot.
But like, how does this help us in productivity and also reflecting on what we have done, whatever tasks we have completed?
So time blocking would mainly come in the focus part, right? We mentioned there are a lot of distractions, and it tends to happen that certain things come and kill your creativity. They distract you from the work that you're trying to do. That is why we are trying to assign certain time blockers. Let's say, like, you just suddenly check the clock, and then you would see that this is actually the time for productivity. I have assigned to a specific task, so if that particular task is complete, then only I will go and get distracted, not otherwise.
So, as Latinanda mentioned, what if something more urgent but sudden comes in?
Yeah, so
So, in that case, what do you do?
there are always buffer slots in between these time block slots. So like the buffer slot is more of a chill period that you have. You can either do micro tasks or the tasks that were below your priority table, right? So you will always be able to fit in those tasks or give the time block slot to that buffer part. Like I had assigned this that, so I'll give it to the buffer part, and first I will finish the more important task that is where we say to iterate, right? Write a priority list and do the things that are on priority first.
Understood. So, if there is any unexpected task, you're first going to prioritize it as per your
Yes.
priority table, and then you figure out where to put it in your time blocks. Got
Yes.
it. Any follow-up questions, Alatinanda?
Not a follow-up question, but I'd like to question another one. So, in your presentation, you have mentioned how reflections are important, right? So, like on a teamwork basis, if someone is not interested in this reflection stuff, then how do you think you can execute this?
How do you make someone see the value of reflections if they're not interested in it?
We can actually make a reflection not a task which needs to do, but which needs to be done, but rather an one-to-one interaction with the teammate. Let's say we have assigned 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes before leaving as a reflection time period, where every team members just very, in a normal way, just reflects on whatever they did. And we can actually further add on to it. We can use an AI to record everything which we talked about, every person sharing the reflection, and then just just let the AI generate all the reflection by itself. We can always do that to make it more interested and interactive.
How do we ensure that they take it seriously, though? That they, don't just answer the questions or reflect orally in a superficial way, but they actually see the value of it and go in depth.
Okay, so when we tell somebody that you have to reflect, and when the person leaves, it becomes a task. But when we are communicating in a team, let's say we have a 4 members team and everybody knows who is working on what thing because we are a team. So when the person is reflecting, we can actually know that this person was, yes, this person was doing something and then this went wrong, and then they can reflect about that. So when we are reflecting in a team member knows each other well. So yeah, I think that can be addressed at that point in time only.
So they're not just reflecting, they're getting real-time feedback on whatever
Yes,
they're
yes,
reflecting upon. That is why they'll find
yes.
value in it.
Hmm.
Got it. Does that answer your question, Alatinanda? Any follow-ups?
No, yes, I'm here.
Any other questions from Team Core Flow?
Yeah.
Yes,
I have
I
a
do have.
question. You talked about iteration and reflection. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, like, when you iterate and then reflect, you iterate again and again. So you get stuck in a loop sometimes. So how do you ensure that you're not stuck in a loop and you are iterating and reflecting? Like, what is the end point of it? When do you stop?
At what point do you realize you've iterated enough and that there is no more to iterate in a particular project?
Once we have what we first targeted to, then we'll stop iterating, as simple as that. Let's say we started with something, we planned something, and we have a raw input for that, and there is a refined output which we thought of. And we have 5 days to complete this task. And in one day, we just need to go, let's say, 1/4 of that path. And we have that target. And if we see after all the iterations, we can reach that 1/4 target which we have for a day, then yeah, no more iteration needs to be done, and maybe this task can be continued for the next day. And we'll ensure that within the coming 5 days, we'll end up with the refined product which we thought of while creating this plan.
So iterating at each and every step. That's what you're saying. So you know when to stop.
Iterating when it's required.
So one question here, if we're iterating at each and every step, then don't we run the risk of not being able to execute the entire workflow because we're
Yeah,
getting stuck at every step?
not at each step. Iterating when it is required, as I said, that if we are doing a task and we see that what we want is not made, so we iterate back that what went wrong, right? And then we refine it maybe a little and then do it, and then the product comes back. That's how the thing went. And if, let's say, we are doing a task and we get it, it was an easy task to do, and at one go we were able to do it, so no iteration is required.
So iteration is for the refinement of the task or the product, or is it only when something goes wrong?
For both. We can use it for both.
Yeah, Ashita, was your question, from what I understood, it was more in terms of refinement, right? When do you know to stop refining? This is good enough. For that, Afreen's answer was as once you achieve the main objective that you have. But then that brings us to the same question. How do you know that there is no further scope for improvement, right?
Then it comes to reflection. While you are reflecting and the team suggests you that, you know, you need improvements, there you can just see that, you know, the limit is not this. And then maybe while you're creating the sprint plan or maybe a plan for next week, you can add on that. So it goes like that.
Fair enough. So first we meet the original goal that we set, and then based on reflection, we identify the next level upgrade that we can bring in the next cycle once the first level of execution is done. Got it. Any follow-up questions, Yashita?
No.
All right. Suchanda had a question, I think.
Right. Yeah. So earlier you mentioned that time blocker, right? So in when you are working with team, there are some tasks which are dependent into some other partner or some other teammate, and you have to follow up again and again because they are delaying sometimes. So how will you maintain that workflow and whatever time planner or planner you made until now, if someone is delaying and your work is also get delayed, how will you like work on it? Like how will you help to maintain the workflow at the same time, like if someone else is delaying?
The delay is not coming from you but from a team member. How do you
Right.
ensure productivity still stays in place? Who would like to take this up from Team Igniters?
Yes, so just to clarify, you're talking about dependencies of tasks, right? The tasks are entwined. So, coming back to the step of iterating, when you're planning out the task, there should be enough buffer time. If my task is, if my final output task is dependent on someone else's task, there should be enough buffer time. Let's say, for example, I have to post a content piece today. So the draft of that content piece has to be ready yesterday itself or the day before yesterday. There has to be enough planning done, that even if reviews are taking time, the reviews would be done the previous day or the previous hour before the completion of that other tasks. So yeah, I think that should
Got it,
answer.
Disha. So keeping buffer time for the other person to fulfill their side of the dependency. Does that answer your question, Suchanda? Any
So
follow-ups?
yes, I have a follow-up question. Like if that person exceeded the buffer time again and again, how will you escalate that it needs to be done on time? Otherwise, the whole process and whole execution is getting delayed for him or her. Or how will you tackle this situation?
Also, how it will impact team's ability to complete high priority work without feeling overloaded.
I think, Suchanda, your question, you've answered it yourself. If it's happening over and over, the team has to escalate. The process of escalation itself is, I think, beyond the purview of today's Socratic dialogue because that differs from organization to organization, whatever escalation policy that they might have.
Yes,
We
right.
can take Aman's question, I think, about how, lack of following of the timelines, how can that affect the team's performance? Why is that a big concern for operations?
Actually, he mentioned something related to prioritization. I just want him to elaborate on the question regarding that.
Basically, you mentioned the time blocking concept, na? So, how could incorporating time blocking in will affect team's ability to complete high priority work without feeling overloaded?
Yeah, that's where the point comes that don't list 15 things in your to-do list, but rather focus on the top three or top four for a day or two. So that's it. I think that's where the prioritization comes. The high priority tasks should come to the top and only 3 to 4 tasks, not 15.
So if there are too many priorities, then that is no longer an issue of execution, it's an issue of prioritization itself. If you have 10 priorities, then you're not really prioritizing properly.
Then that prioritized task will be distributed among the team members. If we have 10 priorities, so we'll be distributing it among the 3 members we have.
Got it. Any follow-up questions, Aman? Any other questions from Team Code Flow? All right. I think in that case, we can end today's Socratic dialogue with the, I would say, three reflections. Whoever would like to reflect on today's discussion around productivity and operations.
I would like to go first. Uh, should I?
Sure, Alatananda, go ahead.
Yeah,
Afreen can go
so
after you.
So according to the question that I asked, like how reflections are important, I think it comes to very individual level. Like when you yourself understand how this is helping me in my self growth and other terms, then only I can be interested in doing this. So what I think is it does not matter whoever inspires you, whoever puts that a thing on you to reflect or stuff, as long as you are not aware how it is helping you and how it is making you grow in other terms of your life, then it's of no use. I think that is the thing.
Understood. So finding personal meaning and value in the act of reflection is important for it to actually be reflective, truly reflective, for you to gain something from it. Thank you, Alatananda. Over to Afreen.
Yes, from this discussion, I can really focus on the importance of creating a good workflow or a sprint plan or a plan to be followed for coming week or so. Because I think it's very important to keep in mind that we don't have to just complete the task, but also add value to the organization or whatever we are doing, and also maintain the reusability of it. So that's very important to plan accordingly and follow it accordingly as well.
Thank you, Afreen. So within your workflows and sprint plans, not just implementing delivery and execution of tasks, but actual value creation. Are they reusable and are they going to add value in the long term to the organization? We can have one last reflection. Who would like to go in?
I'd like to go next. So, what was the key point for me was that knowing when to stop iterating. And that can only happen when you decide in advance what you are iterating for. Is it for refinement of the task or is it for just looking into what went wrong and you're iterating for that? Because if you are in a loop of iterating, it is affecting your productivity as well as the team's productivity as well and the performance as well. So, one thing is to know when to stop iterating. That is what I got.
Thank you, Yashita. So I think with that, we can end today's Socratic dialogue. Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful discussion. And